Hello there and welcome to the Sheff United Way. Today we are going to be talking about if the Blades are prepared for the Premier League. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to throw them in straight away. Ollie and Hal, how are we doing, lads? We are back on the video again. It's only been about 6 months since the last time we did this, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, three of us together feels dangerous. I mean, there's two ways this video can go. It's either going to be great or it's going to be an absolutely garbled mess. But I'll keep quiet, which means it's less likely to be the garbled mess that it could become.
Well, since I last saw you, Ollie, of course, I sold you my beard. So thank you very much for giving that a good home.
Oh, anytime, it was sticking it on that was the problem. But I think I've just about got the mix right.
You've mastered it.
You don't have the minerals to grow a beard like that, Hal.
That is quite possibly the worst thing any human has ever said to me. And you should see my Twitter DM.
What, the ones that you send out?
Absolutely not.
So, Ollie, how do you think the preparation has gone for 𝗍𝗂𝗍 and his crew?
Seems to be going quite well, I think, obviously, the first preseason game, we've had a couple of games now. It's nice to see them getting a little bit of time under their belt. I always like it when they go off to somewhere sunny. I don't know why, but it really feels as though go somewhere sunny and everybody will be fitter. That just makes sense, doesn't it, to me, anyway?
Well, they sweat more, don't they?
Yeah, you're running around, it's hot. Hal, you tell us, what's it like when you run around when it's hot?
You try not to run around when it's hot if you're not a professional athlete. I am sat here and there is a pool of sweat that has collected at the lower part of my back. For those that don't know, I'm in Cyprus. And it's disgusting, and I will have to change my shirt.
Yeah, we're going to change that in the edit. So, I think the preparation's gone quite well so far. I think the games have been interesting. I think, obviously, it's a little bit disappointing if we're picking up a couple of little knocks. I know, obviously, Ollie Mack weren't able to play at 𝗬𝗏, but overall, I think it's probably going well. I like what I've seen in the preseason friendlies, even if they've not been the most exciting games. So, yeah, I'm feeling fairly good about at least how things have gone so far. Nobody seems to be falling off a cliff. Nobody else has done a hamstring like everybody seemed to last year. So, yeah, that's a good start, and I'll take that as a win.
Yeah, so talking away from football, and before, well, kind of round about the end of the season, they were talking about there's going to be some sort of takeover that the Prince is selling the club. That's not happened yet, and it's not looking like it's not going to happen for a few more weeks. Do you think that's having any sort of adverse effect on 𝗍𝗂𝗍's preparation?
Just on transfers, isn't it? Because obviously we're not splashing the cash. We're not bringing people in for big money. There's lots of rumours, of course, about players leaving. Obviously, some of our key players, 𝗬𝗏 𝗏, Sander Berg. So I think it is overhanging everything. I think, obviously, given we were in an embargo 6 months ago, the fact that takeover has been coming, it's bound to have a little bit of an impact. But I think the players will just get on with it. We saw that towards the end of the championship season, they were able to put that to one side and just crack on with the job. And I think they're doing exactly that through pre-season now, and they're just getting on with it and allowing that all the takeover stuff to go on in the background away from them.
Fair enough, fair enough. What I'd like to do, I'd like to share with you some stats from a survey from the Sky Bet Hope survey. Now, let me start from the beginning. Did you know that according to the Sky Bet Fan Hope survey, that 68% of Sheffield United fans want to take over now? I think we expected that, let's be honest. But the next bit is not what I expected. And to top this off, 46% of fans believe that the current owner, Prince Abdullah, doesn't care about the fans. That has shocked me wildly. Hal, I don't know about you, but 50% of the Blades fans thinking that the Prince doesn't care about the fans, I don't believe that. But what do you think?
Of course he cares. He cares passionately about sports. He's actually sports mad. He watches everything he's interested in as often as he can. He likes to be involved. He knows the game. People might think he doesn't know football. He's been a part of football for decades, long before United. Former general president of Saudi Arabia's General Sports Authority. He was the chairman of Saudi Arabian side Al-Hilal FC. And now, even if you don't believe he cares about the football, you have to then assume that he cares about the financial aspect. So he'd naturally want success to be associated with Sheffield United, his club, so he could sell it for the highest price. So obviously he cares. Who knows, as you say, what will happen with a takeover? It's been something United fans have been talking about, hearing about, and kept in the dark about for so long. Maybe it'll happen soon. Maybe it won't. Maybe the Prince will leave the club. Maybe he won't. With or without a takeover, we simply have no idea.
And the thing is, what I thought from reading that stat or that survey was the fact that the amount of times that he's turned down bids for young players like Daniel Jefferson, like Iliman, like Sander in the past, because obviously he wants the most amount of money for these players, but he's kept hold of them anyway. In years gone by, we would have sold them for the first kind of bit of cash that anyone's thrown in our face. So, in my opinion, he's kept hold of these players, and that's the reason why we've gained promotion to the Premier League.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think for me, I think there's probably a little bit of a split in the fan base. And I think part of it's going to be about spending money as well. So obviously, we've seen some really positives that we managed to keep Iliman and Dye. We've kept Sander Berge. We've not sold anybody, I don't think, on the cheap since the Prince has come in.
It's just Ramsdale, wasn't it, that we sold, but we had to sell him because he wanted to go.
Yeah, throw your toys out the pram, and apparently, we couldn't. That was an untenable situation where we can't have a keeper sat there screaming that he's not going to play and whining. So yeah, and that makes sense. So that's the only sale that we've really done. So I think certainly on the sales side of it, you have to say that he's always done his best to do what is best for Sheffield United. Obviously, I think fans are frustrated that we're not spending money. You see lots of teams in the Championship get relegated, throw the money around, get parachute money and go crazy. But I think that's just a sign that he's trying to run us in a sustainable way. Like Sheffield United aren't burning money. We're not throwing it away. We tried it to an extent in the Premier League and it didn't work. And now we're just trying to manage sustainably through that. And I think it's a sign he does care for the club, that he wants us to have a club to support forever going forwards, rather than burn the money now and see what happens, as you see with so many other clubs.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Some really good points there. I want to move on to talk about 𝗬𝗂𝗍𝗂 for a second, because again, in contrast to this, according to the Fan Hope survey, support for Paul Heckingbottom couldn't be higher, with 98% of Sheffield United fans thinking he is the man to lead us forward. So I'd like to know who those 2% are, because, they can't be Blades fans, surely.
No, I was going to say, it could be a little bit higher if it's at 98%. But no, I don't know who's going to have any kind of complaints against Heckingbottom at the moment. He's just taken us up. He came in, where were we when Slav left? 16th? And he took us into the playoffs last year and then just carried that on, getting us promoted. I don't think there should be any debate at all that he is the right man to take us forward, and to at the very least take us forward into this next Premier League season. That's absolutely nailed on, guaranteed.
If you're interested in reading more Blades fans' thoughts in survey form, you can read all about the other findings of the 2023 Sky Bet Fan Hope survey. Add your voice to the debate and share your season predictions on Sky Bet Fan Central. The link is in the description below. Now moving on to the squad, Hal, and do you think right now this squad is capable of staying in the Premier League?
Oh, we live in our Sheffield United kind of transfer speculation microclimate, where it might get warmer on some days than others. You'd expect it to heat up, but it's cold, quiet, lonely and dreary. We want to welcome a tornado of transfer talk, all positive, incomings, no outgoings, unless it is burgeoning, bright, young prospects ready for their day in the sun. But mainly, and greatest of all, we wish for these stormy seas of contract chaos to be tranquil, serene, and Senegalese. Building a side in pre-season is not dissimilar to playing the classic late 80s, early 90s block-based puzzle pleaser Tetris, created by 𝗟𝗟𝗏𝗏. The big question is, stick or twist with what falls next? Because the squad does need more. It needs additions, in my opinion, in a few key areas, more depth, players to push regulars, a standout in each main area along the spine of the team. I'm also a firm believer in positive thinking, and a good start, I think, will see momentum continue. If we start well, we could definitely keep that momentum going and do enough to stay up. It won't be easy. The Premier League is the toughest on earth and takes no prisoners, but our boys will want to right a few wrongs, I think, of the past, particularly the last time that we went down. So this squad, with a good start, is capable.
Good. I like to hear that. Hopefully we win one of the first 16 games going into next season. Now, Hal's touched on it a tiny bit in that monologue that he just did, talking about transfers, Ollie. And I'd like to ask your opinion of the transfer dealings so far. Hal's obviously done a lot of speaking about this on the channel recently, doing all the different transfer incomings. I'd like to know your thoughts on who we've added to the squad and if you think they are additions that are going to see us go well next season.
Ooh. It's an interesting one because I really like the model. I think it's a really good idea. Obviously, we've seen teams, we've seen Brentford, we've seen Brighton. Other teams are doing this really successfully. There are not really well-used markets out there in secondary European leagues, and we are trying to find the value there. Now, that for me is really, really positive. It's a sign that we're moving towards a really sensible recruitment model. It's all tested in the scouting, but for me, that does seem like a really nice way to go. It's safeguarding the future of the club. We're not wasting money on significant transfer fees that are going to leave us burdened if these players do fail when they come into the club. However, it's high reward, high risk, because while these players have potentially got significant upside, they're untested at the top level. They're untested in the Premier League. They're untested even in a top European league. And so they're coming to us now with a potential risk that they are not ready to play or to make a significant impact on our season. So what do I know about the players that we've brought in? Not enough, if I'm being entirely honest. You know, we've got Slimani, we've got 𝗵𝗂𝗂𝗏, we've got Traore, but I've not seen any of them actually play 90 minutes of football. So I can't tell you what their style is or how good they are or how prepared they are. So it's really a difficult balancing act where I think it is the right strategy, but it's a significant risk for right now and whether or not those players are going to be enough to have a significant impact on our season to try and keep us up. For me, it all now rests on what we do with our loan signings. Hal referenced it there, that we have got a potential need to improve in key areas. For me, that's particularly in midfield. We've lost two players from last season in McAtee and Doyle. We've got to replace them. So for me, the entire strategy for this season, not long-term, I think long-term it's the right thing, but for the short-term and this season, the strategy massively rests on what we can do with those loan players and who we bring in to bolster us up right through the centre of the pitch.
Yeah, I think we'll soon find out how good our scouting network is bringing in these players. They obviously did a great job with getting Anel in last season. I'm really looking forward to it. 𝗍𝗂𝗏 did say that if you're expecting Benny Traore to be the finished article straight away, don't think that. And I think a lot of the clever fans of us know that these players aren't going to just kind of come into the Premier League and fly straight away. We need to kind of bed them in a little bit first. I think our core side will be the core side that start the season. But yeah, hopefully with a little sprinkling of foreign talent that we've brought in recently. So Hal, next season, we've already spoken about it on this channel or on the other channel me and Ollie have. Next season, it's going to be, on paper, a slightly easier Premier League than it has been in the past, with all three teams last season staying up. Which teams do you think we can finish above?
Probably the three that get less points than us. And I don't mean that as a sort of cheeky answer. I don't also agree that it will be an easier Premier League. But Fulham could be in a bit of bother with Mitrovic and silver upheaval speculation. Bournemouth, new manager in Andoni Iraola. Will that give them a bounce? Or what's the opposite of a bounce?
Drop.
Non-elastic reaction, a drop. Yes, that makes more sense.
A bounce is still a drop.
And the bookies, yeah, bounce is kind of a drop, but then it recovers. I think the term bounce is the issue here. The bookies have Luton as favourites to go down, and they aren't often wrong. Even though I've been very impressed with the style that Luton have implemented, the recruitment and the ethos. Forest probably need a mention because if their home form deserts them, they are in trouble. Steve Cooper's side had the worst away record in the division last season with just one win on the road at home. They won 8. So you can see it's going to be all about if they can keep that home record and maybe get a few more wins away. It's certainly going to be interesting, Nick.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually think one of the teams who's really going to struggle is Wolves. I think there's a real question mark over their business. They've lost Neves. They've not had a goal scorer for a long time now. And I think there is probably a question mark over whether the manager stays. And so they're definitely one who I think will potentially be down there. And obviously the one who's been crisis. You know, we've seen clubs do this time and time again where they're in relegation, get out the last day, in relegation, get out the last day. Is this going to be the year that Everton actually drop? So I do think there are teams there for us to really try and target, but we ourselves have got to start well. I think Hal really hit on the key point. We were snookered last time because we didn't win any of his first, well, it ended up being 16, but once you'd not won any of your first 5, you were kind of sat there going, Jesus, where does his next win come from? Whereas this time we cannot afford to do that. You know, we're at home, first game of the season, packed Bramall Lane. We've got to target those kind of games to get 3 points early and really get some momentum going into our season.
No pressure, lads. The first game actually that we won in the first season was against Palace at home as well. So hopefully we see that again. Anyway, thank you, lads, again for being part of this. Really enjoyed this chat. Hopefully the Blades will be prepared for the Premier League season and we go on and have a great one.